This is my home. I am so connected to this mountain that it's such a part of me. My mom moved to Brisbane in 1930 when my grandmother left San Francisco, and she was 3 years old, and she grew up on San Bruno Mountain. My dad moved to California. He came to Brisbane and met my mom, and that's where they settled. Growing up in Brisbane, we had the best of both worlds because we lived in a small country town, but we were on the edge of one of the largest cities on the West Coast, San Francisco. Being able to hike everywhere on the mountain and feel safe. You go up there after school and then just nestle down in the tall grass and let the wind blow over you and the butterflies fly over you while you just sat there and watched the world. The Mission Blue butterfly once lived all over the Bay Area, in the grasslands, from Marin and just everywhere. They now only live on San Bruno Mountain and a few other isolated populations. You'll see a lot of butterflies flying in this area right here because it's kind of this little open grassland down in kind of the warm, not too windy area. There's the Mission Blue. The Mission Blue fly in the spring. They have about a week to find their mate. And they taste all of the lupins to find the one that they want to lay their eggs on. And then the larvae go down into the ground when they come up in the spring and they hatch and fly again. See where the edges are bitten out? During the breeding season, you see the larvae biting it, and they'll all pick the sweetest plant to put their eggs on. And this plant has been here. I've always been able to show people bite marks on this plant. It's obviously a favored plant of the Mission Blue. I see the butterfly in my mind's eye. I just get like this stream of flashbacks of memories through my life of being on the mountain and seeing the different butterflies, and sort of an anchoring thing. But what I really see the butterfly as is a harbinger of like, what's our future gonna be? It's a complicated relationship. There's like 30 different butterflies that live on San Bruno Mountain.
Do you recall more insects on the mountain?
Oh, way more.
Way more.
Oh yeah, butterflies, oh yeah. We used to just sit here like on these hills and they would just swarm, they would just be all over the place. You could look afraid to open your mouth when you breathed. You know, so yeah, there's way less.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside, little boxes all the same. There's a pink one and a green one and a blue one and a yellow one, and they're all made out of ticky-tacky and they all look just the same. And the peaches.
We're about to hike up and check on butterfly habitat, and this is a map from the CP, and we are about to head into the center of what, according to this, was core habitat for the Mission Blue. That means this entire hillside is supposed to be habitat, although there's a lot of scrub up there.
Part of the agreement was that the landowners would mitigate their destruction of critical habitat by enhancing habitat elsewhere on the mountain. So that might mean removal of invasive weeds, planting of host plants and nectar plants for the butterflies. A lot of clover, probably a European.
When we got to those locations, when we saw only a rare occasional lupin, what you would say from that grassland is this not a functioning, healthy grassland? Definitely a lot more weeds in here.
A lot more fennel here. The problem was that there's no standard that called for demonstrating the success of these mitigations before the developers were allowed to proceed with their destruction. But there also don't appear to be any nectar plants, at least not.
Yeah, that's the other challenge. For this being part of a core habitat, the lupins are occasional. Little by little, you can picture what's happened since 1984, and the European annual grasses have been slowly stopping the regeneration cycle of the lupin.
And so there's very little utilization by Mission Blue, and yet the buildings are all there.
What you can see is an area that everyone would assume from the maps should be high quality, viable habitat is not very high quality, and who knows if there's actual butterflies here. It doesn't look good for the long-term survival of the lupin and or the butterfly on this site. Here comes that kestrel.
When the Habitat Conservation Plan was first agreed upon, I had trust in the people who had engineered the compromise. When things started to really change for me was when the plan really started to take shape and when the development really started to get going. And I saw that it wasn't what was envisioned. The conservation of areas that were disturbed with erosion happening, the protection and what was going on the rest of the mountain wasn't what I expected either. I realized just how horrible of a mistake we had made.
Can I give you a flyer about saving the butterfly? We really need everybody to speak up and tell the council no more gigantic houses in the middle of the habitat. They want to fragment the population.
Are they going to do it again?
71 more 4,000 plus square foot homes.
Really? I didn't even know about this.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a long time during the early situation with the Northeast Ridge, I left it to other people to work on. But when I realized that I really did have a higher level of responsibility because of my background, because my mother and my father were so involved, I couldn't not do something. We sacrificed so much.
They're trying to build another development up on the mountain, and it's right in the butterfly corridor and habitat. The vote is going to be on Tuesday, so the only way we can make a difference is by letting the city council know what we want.
I've always believed that the best way to get something done is through consensus.
Will you call? Will you write? Will you tell them don't do it?
Okay.
Save the butterflies?
I certainly will. If you tell me to do it, I will do it.
But unless you're willing to get your hands dirty and help make things better, it's not going to happen.
Butterflies belong to everybody.
Not everybody agrees, but the people who know me know that I will tell the truth. And I'll use that support however we can to save the mountain together, because it's a common goal, and that's worth saving.
I'm Clark Conway, and I'm mayor of Brisbane. Grew up here, was conceived here, born in San Francisco, but I was delivered by a Brisbane doctor. Michelle and I have been friends for many, many years. And when you go against somebody that you know that you have such a strong relationship with, you have to go with what you feel is right, not for the friendship or something like that.
Our fathers served together on the first city council. Clark has been a very close person in my life since I was a child, both as friends and as adversaries.
I may not be an expert, but I can see when data is being manipulated to present a rosy picture. This calls into question the well-being of the mission butterfly as well.
I met with Michelle and I said I probably wouldn't change my vote. To be able to get a $4 million endowment to use for the management of the plant species, I think is a major coup.
22 years. Nothing's been planted of nectar plants in those developments. Why would we expect Brookfield to do that now?
Even with the additional funding, throwing more money at it, doing the same thing we've been doing, isn't going to make a difference in the long run compared to taking more of their habitat.
Why are we guessing about this? If U.S. Fish and Wildlife is right, then let them prove it. This project will jeopardize the survival of the butterfly. And don't even think for a second that this is just about the butterfly. It is about our people and our future. It is our choice. It is your choice.
I'd like to turn the meeting over to Kay Gooding from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service for her comments.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. It's very important to understand the premise of the Endangered Species Act is we don't stop. We're not stopping development. It's to authorize and to permit and to evaluate a project. The only way you can ever actually say no perfectly is to have a jeopardy biological opinion or a no permit, and that's very rarely done.
This amendment is not a jeopardy. In fact, because of the removal and management and control of invasives, that will help the survival and recovery of the butterflies on San Bruno Mountain.
If we got real data and did real studies, I think it would show a lot more about the reality on the mountain. You just have to open your eyes and look at the mountain and look at the grasslands and look at the butterflies to know that things have changed dramatically and everything is not fine.
The butterflies can move through these areas. They can move between houses. They cross roads. What you need is enough movement to maintain genetic homogeneity. That could be as few as one butterfly a season moving from the southeast ridge to the northeast ridge.
The fabric of life is woven tight. When you pull on a thread and pull one out and it disappears, the fabric that's left is a little weaker. And pretty soon the whole fabric comes unraveled. And this is what losing species is. And so it's not just about an endangered butterfly on San Bruno Mountain. It's about the whole world that we live in.